In an interview with Piers Morgan, Tucker Carlson claimed that Tommy Robinson was a fraud. And who is Tommy Robinson? Seemingly, Tucker Carlson, the man that never lies, right? Lied to everyone, to Piers Morgan. And well, Piers Morgan should have actually stood up for Tommy in that moment and said, Tucker, you do know Tommy Robinson because you've made a number of videos about Tommy Robinson and you've actually supported Tommy Robinson. But, well, seems like Tucker Carlson is chumming up very, very closely with Piers Morgan. And Piers Morgan's rebuttal to Tucker Carlson saying that Tommy Robinson is a fraud. Well, his name's not even Tommy Robinson. It's Stephen Yaxley Lennon. Didn't even get the full name right, by the way. But what a show from Piers Morgan. What a real comeback. What a real dig at Tommy Robinson. Then he went on to say that Tommy Robinson is just a thug. Not just a fraud, but he's involved in thuggery and multiple convictions and all that sort of stuff. But unlike the two dingbats, Tucker Carlson and Piers Morgan, Tommy Robinson has spent time in prison multiple times, I might add, for his convictions, for doing the right thing. But what does Tucker Carlson and Piers Morgan have to say about that? Oh, Tommy Robinson doesn't stand up for British people. He's not a real Briton. Absolutely outrageous, isn't it? To have two dingbats, two elites that don't even stand up for what's right. Piers Morgan, on one hand, will go, I'm not going to interview Nick Fuentes. And then, because it's fashionable to do so, proceeds to set up an interview with Nick Fuentes. Because for Piers Morgan, it's all about clicks, which clicks bring what? Money. So it's not about being a principled man, is it? And the same goes with Tucker Carlson. Outright and blatantly lying to his audience and to Piers Morgan, saying that he doesn't even know who Tommy Robinson is. But he's interviewed him a number of times on Fox. He even spoke to Piers Morgan about Tommy Robinson, defending Tommy Robinson, believe it or not. And now it's just a massive change of tune, isn't it? And Tommy Robinson goes, no idea who I am, then has the audacity to call me a fraud. You dogs, or your dogs, doing well, Qatar. I'm now going to work on an exposed video on Qatar. F you, cavemen. But it's one thing that I like about Tommy Robinson. He's not backwards about being forwards. He'll say it how it is. And Avant Speaks goes, Tucker Carlson, who is Tommy Robinson? Save me the, it was a rhetorical question nonsense, because he then followed it with, he seems like a fraud to me, as if he had no firsthand experience of ever speaking with him. Well, and don't tell me that Tucker Carlson has forgotten. Don't tell me that. He knows exactly who Tommy Robinson is. No one can tell me or convince me otherwise that he doesn't know. But it seems like for Tucker Carlson, once again, it all comes down to clicks. It all comes down to how things perceive, because previously, before they started even talking about Tommy Robinson, Tucker Carlson was praising Islam, keeping in mind that not long ago, Tucker Carlson was against Islam. But now he's for Sharia. Now he's for Islam. No, like, you've got to be kidding me. What in the world is happening? I'll tell you what's happening. They're being paid. You don't just change your viewpoints like that. It usually takes a little bit of time. For Tucker, Candace, Piers, the whole lot of them, they've changed like that. And it seems to me that there is a massive incentive for them to do just that. Not just the Israeli hatred, which Tucker Carlson has been on a massive bent against Israel recently, but also propping up Islam all of a sudden. Where did that come from? And previously, he was never doing that. Previously, he was against Islam, but somehow he would much rather have lunch or have dinner with a Pakistani. He's got more in common with a Pakistani than a white liberal person, an American. Yes, you heard me correctly. That's Tucker Carlson's very own words. And Piers Morgan is no better. Piers Morgan is the worst Britain has to offer the world. I'd swap him for Shaminga Begum in Top Trumps. That's from Lawrence Fox. Tommy Robinson goes, not just a disgrace to his forefathers, but his children and their offspring, a coward of the highest order. I happen to agree. And Tommy also is on a tear at the moment. This is one thing you don't want to do. Don't go after Tommy Robinson and lie about him because he'll come after you tenfold. What happened? Qatari money. Tucker Carlson. And then Tucker even made a post in 2018 about Tommy. Check out my exclusive interview with British activist Tommy Robinson, who is out on bail. He details his time in prison, the many attempts on his life and his future. Right. Now, you know, the other thing that's very interesting to me with this whole Tucker Carlson incident is Piers Morgan. Piers will only do things if it is good for him to do so. Now, when he was on with Patrick Bet-David, he somewhat praised Tommy Robinson for his work in the grooming gang scandal, then changed his tune completely with Tucker Carlson. How about that? It's how it perceives. And then Tucker Carlson came out and said that Piers Morgan is like one of the best journalists around, one of the most important journalists around, in fact. Get real. They're like sucking each other off by the sounds of it. Doesn't it? Like, I'm going to stroke you off, you stroke me kind of deal. It's like, I'm going to prop you up if you prop me up. It's just, goodness me. And then Brother Rashid. So he's an ex-Muslim, right? And Piers Morgan will never have on an ex-Muslim. You know why that is? Because it makes what Piers Morgan says out to be horrible. I could never go against Islam. Piers Morgan, because he walks down the street and he sees lots of Muslims. And he's always going, oh, you're perfectly safe. All that other nonsense. If you had a ex-Muslim on, perhaps his viewpoints may start to change. Who knows? But it just seems like these people, Tucker Carlson and Piers Morgan, are the actual frauds. You know, when they try and call someone that is not a fraud, you automatically go, well, maybe you are actually the fraud. Otherwise, you wouldn't be saying it. You don't have any evidence that Tommy Robinson is a fraud at all. How could he possibly be a fraud? The man spent time in prison, for goodness sake, for the things that he believes in. Because those things that he believes in, lots of people in Britain believe the same thing. Millions, in fact. But Piers Morgan is all about pro-immigration, pro-Islam. I'm going to praise it until I stab you in the back. And he'll just come after Tommy Robinson because it's easy. And Tucker Carlson just goes where he sees, like, he'll gaslight everyone. He's been doing it a long time, by the way. I've made several videos about him already. I know what he's like. I've seen his ilk before. Same with Piers Morgan. You can't trust them. And the thing is, you look at the consistency. Piers is not being consistent. Tucker's not being consistent. Candace is not being consistent. There's been so many people of late, Megyn Kelly, not being consistent. All of a sudden, changing their tune. I mean, Candace and Tucker were doing it before Charlie's death. Post Charlie's death, Candace and Tucker have ramped up their efforts, and now Megyn Kelly is joining them. Because Tucker, and Piers also knows this, Piers wants to get chummy with Tucker Carlson because Tucker's got a massive audience as well. And, of course, Nick Fuentes is going to bring the views. It's like, why? You said that you're not going to have him on, but then you have him on anyway. But then you refuse to have on an ex-Muslim. Very telling, isn't it? Anyway, I'm glad that Tommy Robinson decided to rip Piers and Tucker Carlson a new one, because at least Tommy Robinson has been consistent. He hasn't really changed at all. He's just gotten, his voice has just been amplified. And I follow people like that. Anyway, that's enough from me. You guys take care. Be blessed. And I'll see you all in the next video.